Is there a more debilitating pain than lower back pain? Shoulders and hips affect everything below it. The entire limb is in pain. Absolutely. Elbows, knees, hinge joints. They only really hurt when you're hinging, with exception. Wrists, ankles, complicated joints that can really affect how you do your sport or recreation. But none so much as the lower back pain for completely inhibiting your ability. When I was a young lad, and I remember this so well, the first time my mom threw out her back, she was putting on socks. Oh. The next time, she was standing up from her office chair. Oh. And throughout her entire adult life, it kept happening. Re-injuring. Chiropractic, physio, massage, all this stuff had no effect in preventing it from happening again. My sister threw out her back when she was in her late teens. All she did was lift up a 5-pound bag of potatoes. God. I remember my stepdad throwing his back out multiple times, out for weeks. I have good friends who have lower back injuries that just absolutely cripple them. And I bet you have friends or people that are close to you that have suffered from lower back as well. Maybe even you're suffering right now. This video intends to give actionable advice on how you can lengthen and strengthen your lower back and core muscles such that you never have to worry about throwing your back out or injuring your lower back from anything less than lifting up a family sedan. So what would conventional wisdom have you do about your severe lower back pain that stops you from doing anything that you love? Spinal fusion? Pain meds? The Rice method? Rest, ice, compression, whatever the E is? So you can try those antiquated methods of helping all you'd like. And I implore you to do whatever you feel comfortable doing. I think we all know they're not really going to do the job. So here we go. The rest of this video is solely dedicated to showing you the exercises that I used to help my lower back pain and what I use now to help the lower back pain of all of my clients. Okay? So let's jump into this action and show you some of these exercises. First off, let's address 3 really important factors in back pain. First up is back flexibility. You can call this mobility, whatever you'd like, but it's essentially your ability to stretch the muscle fibers without tearing. And you can imagine that if you're not very flexible, you can only bend halfway, but you fall and bend all the way, that's going to result in some damage. Next, we got to talk about back strength. This is your ability to lift weight in different positions. Yes, you might be strong with a straight back because you've been told to lift with the knees your whole life, but what about with a rounded back? What about from the side? That's where people usually throw their back out, and so back strength can be defined by your ability to lift weight on different angles. And lastly, it'd be remiss not to talk about back twisting. Doing little trunk rotations is very important, but more than that, you need to get strong in these positions, long in these positions, so that when you bend down to pick up that pencil that's beside you, you're not going to throw your back out. It sounds silly, but it's very important. First exercise is the Jefferson curl. Now you can do these loaded or unloaded. I'd recommend not loaded to begin with. Now, 2 variations of this exercise with your toes up or with your toes not up on a slant board, but both are going to do the same thing, which is lengthen and strengthen the lower back in a rounded position and make your hamstrings super duper long. The deadlift is great because unlike the Jefferson curl, it's strengthening in resistance to rounding. So this can be very beneficial for a lot of reasons, but you'll see me do 3 different variations of this, which is barbell, dumbbell, and then dumbbell with 1 foot forward, each of which has its own benefits. Give them a sample. The seated good morning. What a great exercise. This is really good for isolating, again, that resistance to rounding the lower back. I don't ever usually go too heavy with this one, but the idea is that it actually lengthens and strengthens glute muscles as well as the lower back, and you'll probably feel it in the groin as well. But you'll see the variations here. I had the bench up, to kind of assist with low mobility. And then once you're strong enough and flexible enough, you can bring the bench down. You're trying to get your stomach, like your belly button, to touch the bench before your chest, and don't round the back. Now, you'll see different variations of it. And eventually I pull out the barbell. Honestly, weighted feels better for this exercise because it pushes you down more. Give it a try, but don't go too heavy too fast. Aha, the split squat. This one targets a lot more the legs than the back, but in all honesty, it hits the hip flexors, and that is a huge problem for most people. If you lean back, you target the hip flexors more, and by flexing the rear glute and keeping that back leg straight, you're going to have a lot of stretch strength from that hip flexor. You'll see a lot of different variations I'm using here. Those are regressions to progressions. I definitely wouldn't recommend 135 pounds on the barbell right off the bat there. But work on it. It's a great one. Next up is the back bend. This felt so good after filming all these exercises. I mean, the back bend is the counter to all of these exercises, and you can go as far as to loading it, but you'll see the variations here. I got hands on my hips. I'm flexing my glutes in each position, and eventually you get down into a more loaded position, which would be the bridge. And here I throw myself down to the ground, and there we go. Do some bridge push-ups, and you'll be good to go. Honestly, it feels amazing. It's like decompressing of the back. I always put these into any back day. So the quadratus lumborum muscles are kind of deep-seated, like oblique back muscles are kind of on the side. And these are responsible for most people's throwing out of their backs, you could say. You'll see there's a couple different variations I'm throwing down here. And the seated version is surprisingly difficult. You do a couple reps of that and you'll be burning. But when you get the weights, my gosh, for days you'll be sore in the abs. But you'll notice this last clip, I'm trying to simulate what it would look like to do this properly on a back extension machine. I don't own one, nor do I own the rights to any videos of me doing one. So you'll have to use your imagination. But get into the back extension machine sideways, and you can kind of fold yourself in half that way. And it's fantastic, guys. It's so good. So there's that. It's a great exercise for resisting sideways lifting. And there you have it. I mean, it doesn't cover everything. I didn't really get a chance to go over twisting and how to prepare and prevent injury that way. But overall, that's a great list of exercises. If you want to incorporate those right away, you'll be golden. But of course, there's always more to learn. So if you want help incorporating these into your programming, if you want guidance, then don't be afraid to reach out. I love helping people, and if you want to work with me, then I got some spots available for some folks if you're looking to have some programs and some coaching. Okay? Awesome. Hey, hope this video is helpful. Fucking dog. You can't see him, but he's just running around. Go away. You have brown knees, Toby. You hate baths. Why do you do this to yourself? Quiet on the set, you hooligans. It's tough to get paid actors these days.